Hello, everyone. Good evening. And I'm super grateful to have all of you here joining me this evening. And I also see some of the familiar names here. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so thank you, Yogi, for the wonderful introduction just now. And thank you, Project 30K Hours, for extending their invitation to me to be the guest speaker for this episode of Sharing Hub. As mentioned just now, standing on your own feet means to live independently and also venturing into the world of the unknown while fending for yourself. Therefore, I'll start with this guide on living without your parents. This section will be divided into three parts. First is managing finances. Second, how to take care of yourself. And also third, coping with homesickness. Now move on to the first part, managing finances. Finance management might sound scary and also too difficult to start, especially where we are in our teenage years and we are not financially stable. We do not have a very stable income. Well, for those of you who are going to receive an allowance or you plan to study overseas next time, the tips that I'm going to share with you might be helpful. Finance management is actually not difficult if you exclude out investments and also ways to grow your wealth, but simply on tips to save money are very simple, and you just have to pay attention on the things I share with you later, and we'll find out some of it now. The first principle I'm going to share with you is on save first, spend later. But keep in mind that your expenses may vary depending on your living standards and also different country currencies. But the principle of save first, spend later is very simple. For example, you have an allowance of $700. What you have to do is to save $200 first and divide out the remaining $500 for your daily expenses like food, entertainment, and also daily necessities. Try to be prudent at spending your $500 and try not to touch on the $200. And in that way, you'll be able to save quite an amount of money in the long run. Next is to set realistic financial goals. If you are having your own allowance and you are not using your parents' money anymore, some of you might spend beyond your financial ability because you just don't feel guilty anymore for asking parents for money. Does anyone agree with me if you are the one that received allowance and you are stepping into adulthood already? You can give me a thumbs up. Or if you feel that, yes, I do feel guilty if I take my parents' money, you can give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I see some of the reactions there. Yeah, it's true. And personally, I've seen some peers spending way beyond their financial ability because the freedom from parental control and also the financial independence that they are getting now. Therefore, I've summarized 3 points here to share with you to prevent you from falling into the same trap. First is to control your obsessions towards branded product. And with different country currencies and also different economic situations, some branded product might appear cheaper in some countries. Let me give you a scenario. For example, working as a nurse, I can earn $3,000 in Singapore, but only 3,000 ringgit in Malaysia. With the currency exchange of 1:3, a branded bag may cost $250 in Singapore, but 750 ringgit in Malaysia. Does it make much more sense now that you'll be more tempted to buy a branded bag in Singapore? Just because that the amount of salary you get is quite different, is a very huge difference in terms of the currency exchange of 1:3, and the number is just that, is 250. That's the very common thing I see among my peers when they first step into Singapore, and that's why I give you this scenario. To cope with this kind of situation, it's very important for us to remind ourselves that we must always save up our hard-earned money first, and you'll be able to enjoy the riches when you are financially stable and when you have a stable income and also a stable job. Now, the second point is to avoid hoarding and also influence by promotion. For example, there's a sale going on in an apparel store and they offer a 20% off for each pair of shoes. But you still have a nice and a decent pair of shoes inside your cupboard and you certainly do not need to have a new one. And in that case, you probably should give up the idea of buying a new one because first, you don't need it. And second, you are not going to wear it frequently and you are just going to have dust growing on it in the cupboard. So, it is very important for us not to be influenced by promotion just because that the product, oh wow, is cheaper now because there's a promotion and so I should buy it. Never be influenced by that. And other things that you should not hoard during promotions are also things that are going to be expired in a very short period of time. For example, fresh ingredients, fruits, and also vegetables. If you are not going to finish them by the expiry date, you are just wasting your money and also you are wasting the food, right? Moving on to the third point is to be aware of marketing gimmicks. Now, a very common marketing gimmick is this. The seller or the salesperson will display a current price of 250 ringgit while showing you the original price as 500 ringgit. That way of comparing the original price and the current price is a very common marketing gimmicks used to trick buyers into persuading them and buying their product. Let me share with you my stories. I have a personal encounter with a salesperson of a beauty product. She stopped me and she do a whole lot of math to me just to prove to me that the beauty product, which was originally $200, could be discounted to $70. I eventually declined her offer because I do not feel that the product is worth $200, neither is $70. But coming to reflect on that, she uses the marketing gimmick of comparing the current price and the original price so that she could promote her product and persuade me to buy it. Therefore, dealing with this kind of situation, we must always interpret and analyze the situation first. Ask yourself if the product is really worth the value before we make the purchase. And moving on to the third and the most important point that I must strongly emphasize is this, to be aware of scam. It is undeniable that scam is very rampant nowadays because the frequent use of social media and also the spike in online shopping. And scam can definitely cause a very undesirable effects like financial loss. You will also need to lodge a police report or go to the bank to block all your bank cards if they are involved. And psychological stress can also take a toll on you, causing a halt to your everyday progress. And that's where a very bad experience is someone experience scam, because the main thing is you lose all the money that you have saved up over a very long period of time. And can anyone share with me if you have any experience being scammed, or you would like to unmute yourself? It may be your family members, your friends, or you yourself. Anyone?
Can I go?
Yeah, thank you, Sichin.
Alright, as for me, I have, okay, basically not me, but my mom. She has an experience like she buy clothes online, like through Facebook, and then she paid, I think, a few $100s lah. But in the end, right, the clothes they didn't send here, and yeah, it just end up like nothing. So I think that was probably a type of scam experience.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm so sorry to hear that. Sometimes it do happens, and especially if like you are going to buy a merchandise which is quite expensive, sometimes the seller might request the buyers to give a deposit first, but after getting the deposit, they might not send the product to you, and this is considered a kind of scam as well. So it is very important to make sure that if you are going to buy a merchandise, for example, if you are going to buy your idol's merchandise from maybe Korea or China, make sure you buy from a trusted seller or any authorized seller so that you will not fall into the same scam as Sichin has experienced or her mother experienced before. And thank you, Sichin, for sharing. It's a very good reminder to us that we must be vigilant, and the lesson is just that once bitten, twice shy. Now, I'm going to share with you the 5 most common happening scams, which are job scam, phishing scam, online purchase scam, investment scam, and also internet love scam. If you are looking for a part-time job, you are most likely going to fall into a job scam, especially for students who are going to study and also work at the same time, because you want a very good pay, but you don't have a lot of time to commit yourself in the part-time job that you are going to do. However, you must be aware of job scams if you chance upon a job offer that says that they are going to give you a very good pay, but very short working hours, or you are just going to work from home, because that's just too good to be true. And phishing scam is a kind of fraud where the scammers will mimic someone reputable or some famous organization to trick you into revealing your personal information or your banking details. For example, a TikTok company with a seem very real email address might just hop into your inbox and say that, okay, why not we just collaborate? You can just make a TikTok video and you'll be able to earn how many dollars, and you'll need to provide your photos, your name, your IC, your banking details, those kind. This is a very typical example of a phishing scam, and the email address that they use to reach out to you might be so legitimate that, oh, you think that this is the real TikTok company. And they might also insert malicious links, which could hack into your login credentials and also extract your personal information. And in this kind of situation, it is very difficult to identify a phishing scam. But the thing we can do is remember not to click into any of the unknown links or install any unknown software so that we can protect our personal information from being hacked by the scammer. And now online purchase scam is more familiar to us nowadays as we often make our purchase to online shopping platforms like Shopee and also Taobao. And emerging trends nowadays is actually internet love scam. Give me a thumbs up if you guys have heard of or watched Tinder Swinder on Netflix before. This Tinder Swinder is a movie about this guy. I forgot what is his name, but basically he possesses as a very rich guy to trick a woman to fall in love with him and then asking the women to wire money to him so that he can become rich. And in fact, he is very rich until he can afford a private jet and like a whole lot of resort and just pay everyone and treat everyone to a drink on an island. But this movie is a real story and is available on Netflix and is a very great manifestation of a love scam. Now, I've summarized 5 points here to prevent you from falling into a trap of scam, which are spot the sign, stop and think, slow down, speak to others, and also safeguard. I'll share in greater details through the following slides. First is to spot the sign. If a phone call or a message came in very sudden and urgent, which prompts you to take immediate action, it sometimes might be the first sign of scam. A very typical example is this. They might claim that they are Chinese officials or immigration officer, and they say that you have a parcel stuck at the custom. And if you don't pay a large lump sum of money, you will not be able to get your package back. And some might also use the technique of fear arousal, saying that if you don't pay the money now, you'll need to pay more in the future, or the police might go to your room, go to your house and suspect that you are involved in certain criminals. And you basically get into trouble if you don't pay them the money now. So if you feel that the phone call or the message that you are receiving is pressuring you to take actions, it might be the first sign of scam. The next sign is that the scammer will ask you for your personal information. They might possess as banks, healthcare providers, and also government officials, just like how the example I give you just now. And they will ask you for identifying personal and also financial information, for example, your IC number, your bank PIN number, and also your bank card number, because they might be an imposters to the authority and they have the right to request these kind of details, very private and also confidential details from you. Be suspicious when you receive this kind of call where they ask you to provide your personal information. And the most important thing is do not reveal any of your bank PIN number or your IC number, basically not to tell them anything if they prompt you to do so. The fourth sign is too good to be true. For example, in a job scam, why would someone willing to offer you 5,000 ringgit just to let you work 3 days at home? And worse, if they could offer you a higher pay and just let you work for a very short period of time. If that doesn't make any sense and is just too good to be true, you probably should be more cautious about the offer or the message. The fifth sign is that they'll ask you for money. When the message or the phone call is asking you to wire the money, you must also be suspicious and do not do it. If you are very unsure, always visit the bank or call the official number of the organizations that claim that they need you to wire the money. Lastly, the scammer might also ask you to keep the phone call or the message a secret. And basically, they threatens you not to get any help from the people outside or any other individuals. This is extremely dubious, and you should not follow their instruction and just hang up the call and say that you'll get back to them later. Just don't entertain them. Now, moving on to the second way is to stop and also think. Most importantly, do not be influenced by what the scammer asks you to do, such as keeping the matter a secret, or if they threaten you that the police might come out to your house or any other bad consequences. Do not be influenced by them, and just take a deep breath first, keep your mind calm so that you can carefully interpret the message and identify that it is a sign of scam. When you are not panicking, you'll be able to rule out your thoughts better and seek help from others. For example, you might be able to lodge a police report saying that this number is actually harassing you, and you will not have any financial loss as well. Now, the third step is to slow down. If a scam happens through a phone call, it is most likely that our emotions will be stirred up because we have a direct contact and also direct conversation with the scammers. And when our emotions are stirred up, we will do as per the scammer's instruction. Do not be in a hurry to provide your personal information and also banking details, even if the person threatens you. If you're so traumatized that you can't think clearly, try the fourth way, which is to speak to others. Your friends and family members might be able to identify that it is a sign of scam more quickly than you do, because they have a more stable emotional state and they also have a more rational thinking. They can also provide help to you, such as maybe accompanying you to the bank or the police station if you really fall prey into the scammers. Next is to safeguard important details like your bank card PIN number, your OTP, and also forming a strong password. I always say that you should treat the bank card PIN number, the 6-digit, like the love of your life, and never share it with anyone. And also, do not reveal any OTP to any unknown person who requested it. Next is to form a strong password which provides access to your personal accounts. It's also very important. What are the things that you can do is to incorporate symbols into your password. For example, changing A or O into @ as you use in Gmail, changing L or I into /, and also E to 3. And that's some of the helpful ways to help you incorporate symbols into your password so that it will not be so simple that the hacker can simply guess your password and hack into your personal accounts. Okay, here's a summary of what I shared on the first part of managing finances. I covered 3 points. First is save first, spend later, set realistic financial goals, and to be aware of scam. Second section is on how to take care of yourself after you have moved out of your home and live without your parents. It is definitely a huge challenge managing studies and also life all by yourself. And with all the freedom that you get, some people might also feel very overwhelmed because they finally get a real taste of what adulting is like. As difficult as it may be, life needs to move on, and to get you going, I'm going to share with you some of the tips on how to take care of yourself, or at least keep you safe and also happy while living without your parents. There are 4 tips that I'm going to share with you. First is to eat healthily. Second, get enough sleep. Third, what to do when you fall sick, and also 4, how to take care of your mental health. The tips that I'm going to share with you are not from any professional or robust website, because I know that it might not be applicable to all. It is just mainly from my experiences, and I hope you guys can adopt it as according to your needs. Firstly is to eat healthily. Personally, I was so happy when I first stepped into Singapore because I can finally buy whatever I like, or I can finally buy what I want to eat. I can decide when I want to eat and whatever I want to eat, no matter whether it is rubbish food, junk food, healthy food, because I'm free away from my parental control and I do not have to eat 3 meals a day, which is a very good thing for me. And for information, my favorite drink is bubble tea. So surely the food is always the thing we go to when we are happy, when we are sad, or when we are bored. However, we must still keep in mind that eating healthily is very important, and I don't need to have 0 fast food and also salads all day, but simply lessening the amount of junk food and also the amount of sugar that we take might be helpful. For example, chips, chocolates, and also sweets. And it is okay to have it once in a while, but try to have it in moderation. And this is the thing that I find applicable to me, because I'll be able to save up my money that I spend on junk food, but also eating more healthily than I do when I was in Malaysia, because I eat a lot of junk food, basically. And I'm also the kind of student who like to eat while watching movies and also doing my work. So if you are like me, you can opt for healthier options like healthy snacks, mixed nuts, raisins, and also granola bars. Next is to eat enough food. Students are very busy with your schoolwork, your co-curriculum activities, and I'm sure all of you agree with me, right? And yes, it can be so busy that we'll just sit all day in front of the computer, or you just sit all day doing your revisions and also eat nothing. Sometimes not even a sip of water. Well, I am the very good example of the two, and eat nothing student. And after I came to Singapore, a very bad thing for me is that I'll rush my assignment until like I only have my first meal of the day at 5 p.m. But that's a very bad thing. So don't follow my example. But I'm here to remind y'all to eat enough food. And sometimes it might not be the case of busy studying. We starve ourselves because we want to be pretty and slim. Because that's a very practical way if you are very lazy to exercise, and intermittent fasting, or basically just starve yourself, is a fastest way to lose weight, and you get the result very quick. And that's a very bad thing. Starving to study or starving to be pretty, both is a big no-no, and it can cause more long-term health consequences like gastric and also stomach cancer, which is a thing that I'm trying to remind myself also. And if you really don't have the time to prepare a meal, you can at least try to prepare a Milo drink or eat some biscuits so that your stomach will have something inside, okay? And next is to drink plenty of water. Busy schedule is a very common reason for us not to take in enough fluid, and little did we know that not taking enough fluid can cause us to lose focus easily, and also on a more serious extent, it will cause infection in your urinary tract. So I'll take a pause here, and every one of you behind your computer screen, go and grab your water bottle now and take a sip of it. You are listening to someone talking and you can drink some water, right? Okay. And remember that while you're doing your work, always keep your water bottle within reach so that you can have a very easy grab of it, and just take a sip of it when you're taking a pause of your work or when you're thinking about something. So like you're bored, or maybe you're thinking of an idea, just take a sip of it, and maybe the idea will come like the water flow into your stomach. Yeah. Okay, next is to get enough sleep. Again, a busy study schedule and a hectic school schedule is a very common and a huge challenge for us to get enough rest, especially during the exam period where you are just burning the midnight oil and you just can't afford to go to bed. Through my personal experience, what you can do is to start early on your assignments or your revision so that you can still do it bit by bit and enjoy a good 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If it is really not applicable, which might be most of the cases, you can try to recompensate back your sleeping hours after you have submitted your assignment or finish your exam to prevent your body from overworking. Well, if you are staying up late night to scroll through social media or watch your drama, that's a very big no-no. And I understand that sometimes it's just for us to wind down after a busy day of work, but try to have that self-control and put down your phone as soon as possible after you have scrolled through the latest feed. Next is the use of aromatherapy. If you are not allergic to a certain scent and you are comfortable with using some kind of fragrance, aromatherapy might be helpful to put your body into a relaxing mood and calm yourself down before bedtime. That's what me and my roommate do. Sometimes we do it for fun, and we really try out different kind of scent, but it does put us into a good mood before bedtime. Okay, now on to the third point, which is what to do when you fall sick. Of course, when you fall sick, you will need to rest and drink plenty of fluids for faster recovery. But if you do need to consult a doctor, make sure you check with your sponsoring organizations. It might be your schools, it might be a certain company that are sponsoring your education. Make sure you check with them if there are any insurance coverage or if they could subsidize your medical bills so that you don't have to pay so much. Subsidizing basically means that they will pay part of your medical bills. For example, if you go to the clinic and you visit the doctor, your medical bill and with all the medicines that you get, it might cost you maybe $50. With subsidizing, they can help you to pay $40 and you will only have to pay $10 for the visit to the clinic. Sometimes medical bill can be quite high as well if it is not subsidized, especially if you are admitted to the hospital. And when you reach your place of stay, no matter if it is outside normal residential area or just inside the campus, make sure you know where the nearest clinic is so that you can prepare beforehand. No matter inside the school where you can have school clinics and also outside, make sure that you are prepared beforehand and you know where the location of the nearest clinic is so that you do not have to only find it when you are sick. When you are going to do it only when you are sick, you might be too exhausted and also too helpless to find one. You just don't have the energy to drag yourself to the clinic anymore. Also, locate the nearest pharmacy or drugstore in your area so that you can get medical supplies. If there's a need for you to self-medicate, make sure you know the correct off-the-shelf medication to take and also consume it at the right time and also right frequency. For example, 3 times a day, 1 tablet each time. The way we calculate medication is that if the medication is to be taken 3 times a day, you take 24 hours divided by 3, which is 8 hours. So it means that the 3 tablets should be taken 8 hours apart. For example, if your first tablet you are going to take is at 8 a.m., so 8 hours later, you're going to take the second tablet, and 8 hours later, you take the third tablet. If you are uncertain of the frequency and the medications, anything, always clarify your uncertainty with the pharmacies in the drugstore, or you can call up your parents so that you can get guidance from them. If not, visiting a clinic and consulting a doctor will always be the best treatment plan so that you can get faster recovery. On to the last tip is on how to take care of your mental health. Busy study schedule and strong peers competition nowadays, especially during the times where the education now is so emphasized on self-directed learning, and also they want students to be able to master a lot of skills, like you need to know how to use a computer software, you need to know how to present yourself, communication skills, how to be able to deliver a speech. It can cause a very high level of stress among students and also take a toll on your mental health. And I'm not an expert to advise you on anything, but these are some of the practices that I adopt to at least keep me in a healthy mental state. First is to practice mindfulness. Being mindful is to be aware of our emotions, feelings, and also thoughts. Under a stressful situation, your brain might be fogged, causing you to lose focus and also mental clarity. To prevent you from being eaten up by the overwhelming emotions, you can start by asking yourself how you feel. You might get answers like, I'm stressed, I am angry, I'm upset, I'm tired. Once you understand how you feel, you'll be able to identify ways to cope with the emotions and just deal with the problem more actively, because you're really taking a step to solve the issues rather than just staying stagnant and do nothing. For example, if you identify that you are feeling tired, no matter if it is physically or mentally, you might want to get a good rest, take a couple of hours of sleep, or go to exercise so that you can take your mind off the issue for a while and you can be fresher and come back to deal with the problem more effectively. If you're upset, you can talk to someone you trust so that you can gain some guidance. And if you're angry, taking a good shower first so that you can calm yourself down and you'll come back fresher and also calmer to deal with the problem on hand. And that's how mindfulness guides you into taking active steps into solving your problems. Next is to celebrate your accomplishment. Always be proud of what you have done well, so that you always be content and also grateful for the happy moment and all the ways that you have come through. For me and my roommate, we always say that after this group presentation, we'll go for hot pot this weekend, or after this school assignment, we'll go for sushi to celebrate our effort. And that's how we encourage and motivate each other. And by celebrating our accomplishment, it always keeps us in a very healthy, a very happy state, and that we know that we have done well and we should continue to do better next time. However, if you think that you have fared badly, do not be upset. Move on and do better next time. If you are going to put all the blame on yourself and musing over your mistakes and trapped in a dark circle where you are not taking active steps to cope with the problem, you will not be able to make progress and proceed further. For instance, if you have reflected that this time you got a very bad result because you got lack of time for revision, you are not well prepared, and you just your revision are so disorganized. In that case, after you have identified the mistake, you should take practical steps to cope with the issues. For example, you know that this time lack of revision caused you to got a bad result. Maybe you could start revision earlier next time, and also maybe gain some guidance from your peers, and try to revisit the content that you are not familiar with so that you'll do better next time in another exam. And with that way of identifying the mistakes and take practical ways to solve the issues, you'll be able to improve from there and improve your mistakes. It is basically a process of self-reflection, and also taking a practical ways to improve from there, and you'll be able to get the ball of your life rolling and also rolling. Okay, I've done sharing on the 4 tips on how to take care of yourself. Moving on to the final section is on coping with homesickness. Homesickness is definitely a very unpleasant experience that you are away from your parents, and basically it feels like you're stranded in a sea with no lights and no directions. And it also can cause you to feel very, very sad, but it's something that you can't help also. Then there's nothing you can do with it because you are maybe miles away from your parents. And I have a personal experience of homesickness before, when I can't go back to Malaysia for 1 year plus due to the border restriction. But it is something out of my personal control, and I accept it as a fact and just have to find ways to deal with it. Therefore, I'm going to share with you some of the direct ways of coping with homesickness. Is definitely taking some time out of your study period to call or text your family members. With all the technological advancement available these days, like video calls and FaceTime, there's definitely no reason for you from connecting with your family members unless you are very busy with your schoolwork or you are just too lazy to take the initiative. And also, on and off, you can text your friend and also keep in touch with them. Share with you how's your study life outside of your state or outside of your country, and ask them how are they doing. And that's a very good way of starting a conversation and also knowing what they are doing with their life. With some social media features available nowadays, like liking a person's story, replying to their story, commenting, is definitely not awkward to start on a conversation. And the principle is very simple. If you miss them, you just tell them. All right, that's all I have to share on managing finances, taking care of yourself, and also coping with homesickness.